have changed Soraya Berry. Outside, the weather's turning. The air is fecund with possibility. The sky has rinsed itself clean, and the certainty of new life hangs in gardens and parks, where the soil is busy nurturing millions of tiny seeds and bulbs. They'll burst open soon, in an orgy of very slow and satisfying activity. Inside, he sits and waits and watches. There's not much more he can do. Ironic, really, that their own slow and satisfying activity has led them to this room. It hums with the buzz of unidentifiable machines, tubes attached to walls, and the swish of the curtain rails which flick back and forth as midwives pop in periodically to stick 2 fingers in and assess dilation. It's all quite fascinating, he thinks, although he wisely doesn't tell his wife that. Fuck off! She screamed at him when he tried to rub her back. There are other lives being born here, not just babies, he thinks. Nothing will ever be the same. I won't ever be the same. Next to him, as if sensing his self-regard and self-centeredness, his wife grabs his hand and squeezes it hard. It'd be quite romantic if it wasn't clear she urgently wants to punish him for putting her in this situation. It stops him from being a dick for a moment, whilst he feels the blood drain from his hand. Next to him, she can feel the blood draining too, just not from her hand. Those sodding books really didn't help at all, she thinks furiously. Neither did my sodding soothing music playlist. All the tones that solemnly said would calm me and help the baby enter into a peaceful environment, thus making baby placid and zen. Bollocks. No child is going to be chilled whilst I'm yelling, she thinks, yelling loudly. I should have just put Courtney Love and Hole on Spotify and be done with it. Mainly in, but nearing the outside, the baby isn't really thinking of much, apart from concentrating on making his way through a very, very small entrance with a very, very bright light at the end of it. He's just had a nice nap, cushioned inside a comfy, dimly lit chamber, only to be rudely awakened by all this noise. And it's cold. And those strip lights are really harsh to boot. It's all very discombobulating. He's been hearing both voices dimly now for quite a while, as he's been transported around in his own personal soft play centre / swimming pool with food on tap. Being outside of all ties cut loose suddenly seems very much like a bad idea. The doctor ties an apron around herself. All the adults in the room, apart from the main act and special guests just inside waiting in the wings, are now crowded around the foot of the bed. It's like the front row of a particularly sweaty gig, just without the pints of weak lager. To be honest, she'd kill for a Heineken right now. The floor is definitely just as sticky though. There's a click of metal, an instruction to push, which is met with some expletives and necessary straining, some animal roars, and then a whoosh as baby wriggles out head first into the waiting arms of the apron medic. A bit like a mosh pit run by the NHS. Baby is safely out and mother is safe. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief. It's not a given, and the medical staff know it. A midwife hands him a massive pair of scissors. and he extricates himself from holding hands, with love this time, not loathing on her part, to perform the ceremonial cutting of the cord. It's tough and sinewy, and he feels anything but, having just witnessed the most elemental thing so far in his life. First cut doesn't really cut it, a bit like Anne Boleyn's head. But the second half lops it off, and there it is. There are now distinctly 3 of them. One of them new and a bit flaky on the top of his head, and the other 2, indubitably reborn, and definitely a bit flaky inside their heads. Bloody, exhausted, triumphant, and hungry. A swift round of applause from the team, and several rounds of toast and tea later, and suddenly the 3 of them are left on their own. The machines continue to hum in the background, but the trio only have eyes and ears for each other. Sated, the baby falls asleep at the bar. He thinks, things really are never going to be the same. I've changed. She thinks, screw the books which say breastfeeding mothers shouldn't drink. I'm definitely having a beer when I get home.